Sabre, you clock this guy right in the jaw, and you, you tell me if you feel any regret about that, because the moment he looks back up at you, he looks at you with that crazed look in his eye, the kind of crazed look that only someone who's, badly withdrawing from lyrium could
I do not feel even remotely bad. Not at all. Like, honestly, like a good fight, as long as it doesn't end in death, I never feel guilty about that.
I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it. So you clock this guy in the jaw, and he's about to step up and, hit you back. He doesn't have his sword on him, but Knight Commander Philippe does. And he interjects himself right in the middle. He says, "Enough, the pair of you!" And he turns to the Templar and he says, "You should not be throwing racial slurs at the guests of the divine." And he turns to you, Sabre, "And you should not be antagonizing Templars in withdrawal."
I think I take a step back and, roll my shoulder and, say, "Hey, we have no problem here as long as you step through the circle."
The Templar looks like he still kind of wants to put up a fight. He says, "Knight Commander, you cannot seriously be saying," and the Knight Commander actually backhands him.
Ooh! Shit.
And he says, "Did you not hear me, Knight Captain, about them being guests of the divine?" And the Knight Captain looks appropriately cowed. And he says, "You are not in command here so long as the command structure means anything at all." And he says, "Go through." And the Templar sort of grits his teeth, but walks through, and he does not turn red.
When he doesn't turn red, I just kind of
You're like, I punched him for no reason.
I was really hoping that was going to...
Great.
Really wanted to stab that person.
So in the tension of the, when you threw that punch, Sabre, all the Templars kind of backed up. They didn't realize it was quite this serious. Everyone sort of slowly reforms into a line, and the Templars continue their way through. As the line goes on, more and more Templars cross the line, now with 50% less sarcasm and anger about it. Apparently one of them is willing to punch you if you fucking step out of line. But the entire Templar order goes through, or at least all the ones assembled in the courtyard, and no one triggers the glyph.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Philippe says, "Are we 100% sure it's not broken?" He says, "Well, I don't know what else to do. We've tested everyone in the monastery, myself included."
Is there anyone else here?
He says, "Well, there's a host of servants," and he looks suspiciously at the elf immediately, and the elf rolls his eyes. He says, "Knight Commander, in the chaos that followed that Knight Captain getting punched, I saw one of them go down toward the cellar," and he points in the direction of the cellar.
I get a big shit-eating grin on my face, and I'm like, "Let's go get our demon."
The Knight Commander says, "You're going to take his word? He's just a servant." And Leander immediately interjects, "By that you mean he is just an elf." And the Knight Commander looks appropriately he bites his tongue. He has some stuff that he wants to say, but he doesn't.
I think I look at him and I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about this later.
We're going to have some words, racial sensitivity training maybe, but...
Leander turns to the servant and says, "Are you willing to show us around the cellar?" And the elf says, yeah, of course. Anything I can do to help. I don't want an abomination roaming around the Templars any more than you guys do."
Excellent news. Let's go.
And the Knight Commander sort of crosses his arms over his chest and glowers as the 5 of you head toward what you can only assume is the cellar. The servant is guiding the way. And he says, as you walk, "I'm sorry about the Knight Commander. He's...
racist."
Yeah, he's racist.
Yeah, yep. Well,
you can almost understand the mage hating part because he's a Templar, but the racism, that's all on him.
Just, they can't help it, right?
No, he can help it. He just doesn't. And as you're walking, he turns to you, Sabre. He says, "I was serious about that, the ritual. I only just started working here a couple weeks ago, and one of the first things I found in the old ruined library was a book that had a lot of old rituals from the founding of the Templar Order." He says, and one of them was how to peacefully separate a spirit from a soul. And I don't know, kind of a weird coincidence, but if you want to, I definitely am willing to help.
Interesting. What's your name?
Oh, I'm Olivier.
How committed are you to this job?
I'd say on a scale from 1 to 10, I'm at -2.
Excellent. I think we might have a position for you.
He kind of looks excited. A position where?
To Vinter. Now hear me out.
You should have started with in the Lucerne, Yariel.
Okay, actually I need some help. I turn to like Ellie and I'm like, please help.
We're part of an organization in Tevinter that is fighting for freedom for slaves and restoring Tevinter to what it should have been before. Just kind of gesture like the Imperium.
Olivier, he is listening to your explanation quite intently, and then he says, "Wait, are you guys?" And then he looks over his shoulder, and then he like leans over really conspiratorial. "Are you guys with the Lucerne?"
Oh yeah. Yes, absolutely. Should we have led with that?
Yes.
I've heard about the Lucerne. You guys are really making waves here in the South. I mean, any Tevinter Reformationist group makes big waves in the South, as you can imagine.
Well, we've got some powerful people on our side, and if you were to join us, we could perhaps introduce you.
He's really thinking about it. He says, I mean, it's gotta be fucking better than working for this racist dickhead, right?
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah, like, Kaz is nodding like, uh-huh.
He says, well, I mean, I want to help you with the ritual, right? That could be a good reason. I was the one who studied it. And he says, and he leaves, don't tell anyone, but I'm a mage. I've been keeping it on the DL. Because, I'm surrounded by Templars. But I can help you do the ritual.
I think I blanched just the tiniest bit, and then I get myself under control, and I'm like, you know what? We could use somebody of your skills.
Good thing you got yourself.
We could definitely use some of your talents. I think we should be leaving here after we solve this. And I sort of just gesture to the whole thing.
I mean, it feels sort of weird to be escaping the, oppression of Orlais by going to Tevinter. That seems sort of like escaping the heat of the frying pan by jumping into the fire. But, I mean, if it pays better...
It definitely pays better. And I look around. I don't know. I'm making that up. Do we even get paid?
Right, like, I had, like...
Better. You're an idiot.
No, seriously, do we get paid?
We do, yes. We get a stipend.
Leander says, Sabre, for the last time, you have been receiving a weekly stipend.
Have I?
There was an account set up in your name at the Bank of Minrathis.
I should probably go... Okay.
Yes, you probably should.
Apparently the pay is very good, I say, turning back to Olivier.
Oh my god.
And he says, I mean, it seems like a good deal. One of those too good to be true things, almost. But, I mean, like I said, I've been living with a bunch of mage-hating racists for a couple weeks.
It's in Tevinter. It's not too good to be true. It could definitely be better.
Says, yeah, okay, fair enough.
That's the downside.
So as you've been talking, you've been kind of going around the complex. There's a huge cellar complex underneath this monastery. And you can tell why, because you think this monastery used to be used for brewing. There's actually a really strong tradition of beer crafting and winemaking in certain monasteries throughout Orlais. And you think this monastery used to be one of those breweries. There are very, very old, dusty, huge barrels of wine that certainly by now has turned mostly to vinegar. But you can, the remnants are still there, the barrels, the large casks that have the little spigots on the end. And you've been going through as you've been talking, kind of, just chit-chatting idly about, the job security in Orlais and how much it sucks to work for a racist boss. And Olivier opens one of the last doors in the cellar, and you see some interesting stuff just kind of all at once, and it kind of dampens your conversation a little bit.
Oh no.
You see a man who you can only assume is the Templar who snuck out. You see him facing a wall, and with these huge, unnatural claw-like arms as he's digging frantically at a wall, and through the crack in this wall, you can see a glowing blue vein of lyrium.
Oh shit.
Oh, I yanked my spear out. And I think I push Olivier behind us, because he just seems kind of fragile.
He does seem a little bit fragile, yeah. And the Templar whirls as soon as he hears the door open, and you can see his eyes have gone completely black, which is a hallmark sign of possession. And the Templar sort of eyes the four of you, the five of you, just waiting for one of you to move.
I just turn to everybody. I'm like, well, I think we found him.
No shit, Cassandra.
Obviously.
Leander says, we need to be extremely careful. That is a raw lyrium vein. If it gets hit by anything, it could explode and take this entire monastery down.
Oh,
for fuck's sake.
Your tranquil friend is right. The possessed Templar whirls forward and uses one of his massive claw-like arms, and he slices at the lyrium vein, which Leander takes a defensive step back, because he's the only one here who knows enough about lyrium to know, oh god! Oh, that's so dangerous! And then he turns back around, and the entire claw is covered in this glowing blue lyrium dust, and he licks up the crevice of his arm to the very tip of the claw. And the black is sort of laced through with blue, and he says, "We have a good situation, him and I, and it's not hurting anyone, so why don't you just be on your way?"
I'm pretty sure it's hurting someone. I'm just I don't know that much about possession, but this does not seem healthy, man.
She says, "He's desperate for lyrium, and I have the power to give it to him. What about that is bad?"
I think I'm looking desperately at Cassandra, because I don't fucking know about, weird magic shit like this.
Cassandra, you can go ahead and roll Cunning Arcade Lore. The most immediate pressing danger that, he shouldn't be eating raw lyrium.
Yeah, you're like, wait.
The lyrium that the Templars get, you don't know because you've never seen a Templar take lyrium, but, they can't just eat it raw. That's poison. He just licked poison. You have to, with lyrium potions, you've got to distill it so it won't kill you the minute you drink it. So, that can't be good.
That's bad. I just, look at you, Yariel, put my hand on your shoulder, and I'm like, you can't eat it. It's poison.
Okay, there we go. My friend says it's poison, so this is not a good situation for this possessed Templar, so you should leave.
It's poison for him, but while I am possessing him, it's no more dangerous than any draft the Chantry ever gave him. He says, "Who have I hurt by possessing him? What ill have I wrought in this monastery?"
You've opened a raw lyrium vein in a monastery full of Templars going off of the stuff.
The Templar, the demon Templar, sort of winks at you. "I'll be careful."
Bullshit!
Doesn't look like it.
I'm looking at you two. I'm do we have to listen to this, or can we just kill it?
I just think it's an interesting moral position for the three of you to take.
Elaborate.
I'm not the only one here possessing another being.
Well, that is...
Why is it all right for you, but not for him? He was more desperate than you three were when you became possessed.
It's very different. Mostly because I am not eating raw lyrium. So I think that's probably where we're gonna start, and also you should leave.
Her eyes float past the three of you. She starts at Cassandra, goes to Ellie, and goes to Sabre, and then finally her eyes land on Leander, who is taking a defensive position. He's already got his hand on his bow. Yep. He's ready to draw it at any moment. And she says, "So dark inside. Hardly a person at all. But I can see the cracks under your skin. There's desire under there. Desperate to get out. Desire for freedom. Desire for revenge. Desire for love." And her eyes flick back toward you, Elian.
Oh, my hand's on my sword as well.
"What do you say, Leander? I can leave this Templar behind, break your tranquility, and give you everything you want."
Making a deal with a demon is no way to solve this.
Leander looks at you with judgment in his eyes.
I fucking know. We'll talk about that later.
"Yes, we will." And he draws his bow and he fires the demon. And a 17 is more than enough to hit. He fires his weapon. Actually, she's got a natural armor of 7. 5. So Leander draws back and fires his bow before he even answers, or maybe perhaps as an answer to the demon's question of, "Hey, you want my help getting out of tranquility?" And he just answered with arrow to the shoulder.
Yep.
The demon Templar, its shoulder, kind of jerks back, and he looks down at his shoulder and then up at the 5 of you, and he says, "Well, guess not." Elian, you're up in the order.
Oh, cool. Excellent. Yeah, I think he's just going to attack with his rapier.
A 16 is more than enough. Go ahead and roll damage.
Okay.
12 minus 7, which is 5. So you do 5 damage total.
Okay.
The Desire Demon hisses at you, this is very interesting to see. Like, it's vacillating between, like, a male Templar and a female-shaped Desire Demon. Sabre, you are up next.
Excellent. I'm gonna pull out my spear and my brother's sword.
You should just call it by its name, Vir Suledin. It's an awesome name.
Fair, it's a cool name.
Did I ever tell you what Vir Suledin means?
No.
It means the way of endurance, or we endure.
Oh, that's cool. That's real cool.
That is cool.
I'm gonna try to attack the thing with my spear first, and we'll switch off weapons later.
Roll to hit. Just barely a hit.
Oh, thank God. Oh, that was a good hit.
That was a good hit. 12, again, 12 damage minus 7 is 5. This is it's becoming a pattern. It is now Leander's turn. He is going to fire another arrow, I suppose. He's got a +8 to his modifier, because he's a tranquil, and everything he tries he's very good at.
Good God.
18.
Wow, 4 stunt points!
God.
Oh, he does have 4 stun points. What should I do with that? That's a mighty blow, right? That's an extra 1d6. Well, he rolled kind of shitty. And he only, minus her armor rating, that's only 2. Alright. Next up in the order is the Desire Demon.
Uh-oh!
She's going to attack Sabre.
Damn it.
Does a 14 hit your defense score?
My defense is 15.
So that's a no, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
But she has 3 stun points, which means that she can still use Scream.
Oh, damn it.
She rakes her claw down across you. You successfully knock her blow back with your spear, and she lets out this unholy scream. And everyone in the room needs to make a magic spirit test.
Okay.
That's going to end poorly.
17 is a success. A 7 is not a success.
Well, I have 0, so...
I'm not surprised,
14 is
Sabre.
a success. Okay, so...
Oh boy.
So, Sabre and Leander, you have both lost your major action on your next turn.
Oh, bummer.
Shit.
And you all take 1d6 damage.
Okay.
Cassandra, you're up next.
Okay, I'm going to cast Crushing Prison. How about that new spell I just learned? Yeah.
Alright, that has a pretty high TN.
Yeah, that's 17.
That is not good enough.
Oh no!
So you don't have a magical mishap, but what does happen is you fire off this spell and it hits the lyrium vein.
No!
And the lyrium vein
Oh.
explodes, hitting everyone who's within melee range, which is Sabre and Elian and the Desire Demon, for that much damage.
Okay,
God.
but I have Faith's Shield. When your friend is in danger, reach into yourself and draw upon your sense of faith. Any damage your ally takes is reflected back.
So which ally are you going to be protecting? Because there's 2 there.
Yeah, I would think it would be the newfound
Yeah,
brother
yeah.
that you...
Oh, family! Right, protect Sabre. Yeah, that would be instinct.
Okay, so you protect Sabre.
Yes, Sabre it is.
Okay, so your magic reaches out. Good news, Sabre, you don't take that 18 damage. Bad news, the damage is reflected back on the lyrium vein, and it explodes again.
Oh no!
For 11 damage, which both of you take, and you cannot reflect.
Oh no!
So Elian has taken a total of 29 points of damage from this exploding lyrium. Sabrae's only taken 11, and the demon has taken all 29 as well.
Actually, you know what? So this is kind of working out.
Sabre's like, that's fine. Elian's like, what the fuck?
Whoopsie doopsie.
Elian?
I'm okay.
No, you can't. You're not okay. You're coughing because the air is full of lyrium dust.
Oh no.
Good job, Cassandra. Elian, you're up. So you just had lyrium explode in your face.
Yep.
Twice.
Twice. You are breathing it in. You can feel it sort of underneath your skin. It hurts. It's like hot ash. Like in your lungs, in your throat, in your eyes. And also it just exploded, which hurt like hell. What do you want to do with your turn?
Jesus. Like, I want to keep attacking the demon, but Elian would probably try to get some distance.
Yeah. Since you can't breathe right now. And ouch.
Yeah. I feel like he's going to try to move away.
Okay. You move away. That can be a minor action. You can get up to your distance away as a minor action. Or your speed away.
Yeah. And then I can do 2 minor actions or 1 major on a turn, is that right?
You can do 2 minor or 1 major, 1 minor.
Okay, so I think he can't breathe right now, so I guess he's just gonna aim.
With what?
The dagger, because he drew the sword and dagger.
Okay. So you take a couple steps back, you grab your throwing dagger. You're still coughing pretty badly.
Yeah.
And that is all you can do on your turn. Sabre, you're up. Lyrium just exploded in your face. All that stuff I said to Elian is also true for you, but slightly less so.
Excellent. I can't do anything major, right? That's literally all I can do is take a minor action.
To scream,
Yep.
that's right.
You cannot take a major action. You can take 2 minor actions if you want.
I think I'm going to take my minor action, and I'm not doing this on purpose, but just instinctually, I'm gonna activate my spirit warrior mode.
Oh, fuck yeah. We haven't really talked about it, but
Excellent.
can you give us a quick out-of-character explanation for what this is?
Yes, so this is a thing that Tessa told me to do. Made me do.
Yep.
Yep. I chose your specialization for you, but let's be honest. Sabre chose his specialization for himself without realizing it because he's a dumbass.
Yeah, fair enough.
Accurate.
So basically, my specialization is Spirit Warrior, which is it's a bunch of magic, and it's being able to protect yourself largely against magic is a lot of what it means. So the Spirit Warrior mode basically gives me some extra defense and bonuses to resist spells and magical attacks.
Nice.
And the description is you wreathe yourself in mystical energy, so I imagine this is going to be upsetting for everyone involved here, because Sabre definitely doesn't know what's going on, and everyone else is also suddenly why the hell is he magic?
Canonically, spirit warriors commune with spirits of the Fade to gain these abilities. Because, if you're not a mage, the only way you can do magic stuff is by asking spirits to do it for you. And canonically, what this is Justice. Justice wreathing you in a anti-magic shroud. He's the spirit that you communed with by becoming an abomination. And he is now reacting to the lyrium that's covering your body and protecting you with the Fade Shroud. So because you are connected to Justice, this is Justice helping you do this.
Ah, gotcha. So at least there's some explanation for it. So I think, so that's one minor action. I think the other minor action is I just instinctually just get as far away as possible, because it's a lot of exploding things going on right now.
There are quite a lot of exploding things going on. So it is Leander's turn. Leander runs to your side, Elian, and he grabs you by both shoulders and he tries to get you to sit down.
I'll be okay.
He says, "Shut up." And he starts dusting the lyrium off your clothes.
Thank you.
He doesn't answer. He's he's about as frantic as a tranquil can be, which is admittedly not super frantic, but he did give up his turn. He didn't have a major action anyway, and he starts frantically dusting off your clothes, and he's muttering to himself, "We need to get you into a bath as soon as possible, into any body of water to get this lyrium off of you."
When we're done with this?
I believe I told you to shut up, Elian.
Okay.
It is the Desire Demon's turn. The Desire Demon is not looking great. The Templar has blood running out of his mouth for the usual reasons of exploding lyrium. Mm-hmm. It coughs hideously black demonic blood splattering onto the ground. He lifts his eyes and he looks across at Leander again and he says, "Last chance, Leander. I can save him if you let me in." And Leander does not answer him, and the Desire Demon doesn't like that, and he fires off an arcane bolt.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
At Leander. A 22.
Oh.
22 is a hit. It hits Leander for 12 damage. Leander basically throws himself over you, Elian, so he takes the full brunt of the spell instead of you.
Oh, oh no.
Cassandra, you're up next.
Oh boy.
It should be worth noting that the Desire Demon is now the only one near the lyrium vein.
Right.
I feel like it's probably a lot easier to hit a vein of lyrium than it is
right.
a person.
Yeah, I feel like I want to, we'll do Flame Blast.
Oh, you gained 4 stun points!
Alright.
This might be the killing blow. Okay, so you have 4 stun points, and you have hit her.
Good.
So go ahead and roll damage. So you watch as Leander shields Elian's body with his own and takes a really nasty arcane lance hit to the back. And you call upon that familiar primal magic and you fucking barbecue this demon alive. And she screams and writhes. And unfortunately, because it is an area of effect attack, technically, the lyrium vein also gets hit, and I want all of you to make dex checks to get the fuck out of this room before it collapses, because the lyrium is exploding a lot.
It sure is.
Okay. Oh no, we're gonna destroy this stupid monastery.
So, Elian, you are trying to... Everyone else, like, dashes out of the room, right? And you took a lot of damage from that lyrium.
Oh, no.
So, quick as a whip, Leander, who rolled a 21, throws you over one shoulder and fucking rolls out of the room with you. Right behind you, the ceiling collapses on this wall with an enormous sound. Dust and dirt goes spewing out through the door. And Leander is sort of hunched over you, wheezing, as you all acclimate to the fact, and like you're waiting, and then the rumbling slowly stops. So you think, okay, maybe the entire monastery isn't gonna collapse. Maybe.
I feel like we're, like, carefully backing up. Don't touch it.
Leander says, we need to get both Sabre and Elian into water now.
I think I look down at myself and I'm like, I think I'm fine.
You breathed in raw lyrium, Sabre. You feel fine, but you are not. We need to get you both into water.
Where is there water in this monastery?
There must be some sort of washroom. Leander is about as hysterical as it's possible for him to get. He says, Elian, can you stand?
I think so.
Come on, let's get them upstairs. Hurry.
Is Oliver still around? Olivier.
Yeah, Olivier is standing in the corner of the back room, just watching you like, oh god, what just happened? He just saw you fight a demon and collapse an entire room.
It's fine. Where's the washroom?
Upstairs. We have upstairs.
Okay, let's go.
So all 5 of you go scrambling back up the cellar steps. And as you are coming up, the Knight Commander is rushing toward you. He says, I heard an enormous collapse. What's wrong? And Leander says, we need to use your washroom now. And he says, and Olivier like shoves past him, like, this way. So you all, like, propriety is something that one theoretically worries about.
Yeah. Right.
Leander has stopped worrying about it.
Yep.
A, because he's strangled, and B, because you're covered in raw lyrium dust.
Yeah.
So he immediately gets you both into a washroom, and he's like stripping your armor off. He's like, get in the water, you have to wash now. There's like a huge basin set into the floor of freezing cold water.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely blisteringly cold water.
Great. Love that.
This is fun.
I just like shove at his hands so that I can actually get my armor off easier.
And he goes to attend to you as well, Sabre. Being Dalish, the Dalish have different modesty rules than the fucking Shenlin.
Yeah, I feel like I don't really care.
It's skin. Deal with it, Shenlin.
I think I'm just like stripping. I'm like already down.
Get it out of your hair as well, your eyes.
Yeah, so he's just dunks his head, tries to get everything out. Hates opening his eyes underwater, because just hates that, but does it.
Yeah, and like you hadn't really noticed it at first because you were a little bit preoccupied with the pain and the bleeding and the whatnot. But yeah, as soon as you rise up to the surface, you can see there is a hazy, silvery dust that's floating on the surface of the water. And a lot of it came off of you. It must be raw lyrium. As the 3 of you are in this washroom, that leaves the Knight Commander outside alone with you, Cassandra. And he says, what happened?
I'm like pacing like it's my fault. I exploded it. I didn't mean to. I tried to save them.
Olivier puts a hand on your shoulders like, it's okay. You did everything you could reasonably do. You were in a fight. You couldn't have known.
I hope Elian's okay.
Olivier like pats your arm, just trying to reassure you. The Knight Commander says, what happened? I heard an explosion.
Yeah, and then I turn to him and I'm like, we found the one who was possessed by the Desire Demon, and it had exposed a vein of lyrium.
And he kind of blanches. He says, oh, lyrium, right underneath this monastery.
Apparently.
He has a conflicted look, because, he is also in lyrium withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
But also he knows that the stuff the Chantry gives you is not raw lyrium.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, downing raw lyrium would sort of be like an alcoholic downing isopropyl alcohol.
Like, it's not gonna work, yeah. It's not gonna quite hit that spot.
It's slightly different. It's got a little bit different properties going on.
Yeah.
So he says, I suppose it's a good thing, then, that you collapsed the room, yes? That is what I heard?
Yes, I wasn't intending to hit the raw lyrium, but yes, that is what happened.
He says, and yes, it is most certainly a good thing that you collapsed the room. We don't want any Templars in withdrawal to make any more deals with demons and dig up raw lyrium veins. And he sort of sits heavily down on the bench. He says, perhaps we should follow you as far away as possible from this place. Perhaps that cause of fighting the Blight is not a bad idea after all, if the alternative is staying here. It's about an hour. Sabre and Elian, you are both freezing cold, because it's not comfortable, but you have to get all that lyrium off ASAP. But eventually you get a change of clothes, and what are you doing after a brush with near death? You haven't had the opportunity to heal, not any hit points recovered, but you have been able to catch your breath. So what have you been doing?
It's just been a bad day. I think I'm just
We've both been just numbly staring at each other, I guess.
Probably. I think at some point I look up at Ellie and I'm like, at least I got to punch that guy. I mean, not a great day, but that part was pretty good.
Punching racists is always a good day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Leander comes and sits down next to you. He puts a blanket over each of your shoulders. And he sits down beside you, Elian, and he looks at you for a really long time, and then he says, Sabre is an idiot. I can understand him running toward a vein of raw lyrium.
I'm literally right here.
He says, oh, so you want to deny that you're an idiot?
Yes?
He shakes his head and ignores you and returns his attention to Elian. He says, raw lyrium, Elian? You know how dangerous it is.
I wasn't thinking.
Clearly.
I haven't been thinking. I'm sorry.
He puts a hand on the side of your face and he leans toward you and he says, don't do that to me again.
I won't.
He sort of rests his forehead against yours and just stays there for a while. It's almost like he's reassuring himself more than anything.
I'm clinging to his other hand as tightly as I can.
He says, you're freezing cold. We need to get you in front of a fire.
Okay.
And he looks to you, Sabre says, you too, don't run directly toward it this time. He smacks you upside the head.
Ow!
So Leander herds you into the mess hall in front of the chandelier is still on the floor, by the way.
Yeah.
But he took you there because it has a really big hearth. He starts stoking the fire and he sets you both down in front of it. And as you are all getting cozy and trying to warm up after an extremely cold bath, Olivier comes over and he's got a big tome in his hand. It's sort of fraying at the edges. It's obviously very old. And he says, hey, so I got that book I was talking about. And he comes around and he sits down next to you.
Excellent. Actually, I don't know what. You should just give me the cliff notes.
Yeah, neither of us understand anything about magic.
Leander says, I understand something of magic. And Olivier, he clocks Leander immediately. It's hard not to recognize a Tranquil. And a lot of mages are reasonably nervous around Tranquil, especially mages that grew up around the Chantry, because,
Yeah.
Tranquil are a reminder of what happens to mages if they don't toe the line, basically. But so he looks a little nervous around Leander, and he says, I found this within the first couple weeks of getting this job here, and basically it's a very old book of early Chantry magic that the Templars and the mages in service to the Chantry used to do. And one of them, and he flips to one page in particular and he spreads it out with both hands, describes a way to peacefully separate a soul from a spirit. And he sort of inches the book over to Leander, who looks down and eyes it a bit, and I'm going to have Leander roll Cunning Arcane Lore to see if he can figure this out. So with the 15, Leander has a puzzled sort of frown, and he says, interesting. And he flips to the next page and keeps reading, forgets to explain what he's looking at, because, Tranquil.
Leander?
What? Oh. He says, yes, it is a fairly simple ritual. You need some distilled lyrium, a few glyphs, a particular chant. It seems like it might work. He closes the book again and he says, we should ask a mage smarter than I am. Perhaps we could ask Inquisitor Llewellyn what he thinks of it.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be delighted. He'll probably help you, I turn to Olivier. He seems to like elves who aren't me, so...
Olivier perks up, he says, You guys know Inquisitor Llewellyn?
Oh yeah, he's part of the Center. He's actually not far from here. Do you want to meet him?
Oh no.
He gets a little bit fanboyish. His eyes kind of light up and he starts to vibrate. Like, you've actually met him? You've met the Inquisitor?
Yeah, we came here with him, yeah.
He says, yeah, I want to meet him. Are you kidding? That's amazing.
I actually am, like, starting to regret this. Like, I actually don't know how he's gonna feel about being introduced to a fanboy. I don't really know how he's gonna like that or not.
He says, the Herald of Andraste, Lord Inquisitor Latin Llewellyn? Yeah, I would like to meet him.
Okay, he's not that cool. Okay, he's fine. He's okay. I mean, like, I guess.
Leander stares hard at you. Like, yeah, you think he's not that cool. Got it.
He's, like, on a scale of 1 to 10. I don't know, like a 6. You know, better than average.
Elian also arches a brow at you.
Okay, fine. I get up. I'm like, I have to go somewhere that's not here. Bye.
And as you stand up, Leander actually stands up as well and follows you out. It catches you alone in the hallway, and he says, I feel like I should ask, is this ritual... Leander still has the book that he was holding. Is this something you actually might be interested in doing?
I mean, eventually, perhaps? I hadn't really thought this through, Leander.
Really? You hadn't thought something through? What a break from
Okay,
character.
okay. Okay, well, it wasn't just me. Did anyone else think it through either? Did your boyfriend think it through? No, I don't think
He's
so.
not my boyfriend.
Okay, sure.
And I'm sorry, how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how cool is Inquisitor Llewellyn exactly?
It's not, what? It's not even about,
Turnabout is fair play.
Has anyone told you that you're kind of an asshole?
His face betrays absolutely nothing.
I'll take that as a yes.
He hands you the book and he says, add it to the list of things you want to talk to Lennon about. So Cassandra, you talk to the Knight Commander, and after discovering that there's a lyrium vein underneath this monastery, maybe it's not the best idea to have a bunch of Templars here. Just the fun. And also, after that explosion, it might not be structurally sound, so he's thinking, like, maybe just sell the monastery to the Dwarves of Orzammar and use that paycheck to, I don't know, come up with a better headquarters somewhere or something.
Right. Sounds like a plan.
You get his consent for all you've done to help them. Like, obviously, you got rid of an abomination in their ranks. You have connections to a healer who's working to help them physically with their withdrawal symptoms. He says, we are willing to fight on your behalf, and you have, congratulations, secured the Oath of Fealty from what remains of the Templar Order.
Oh, excellent.
We did it!
You guys did it!
Do we get a little, like, placard or something, and we just, like, have to
You
collect?
get an achievement.
There we go.
Achievement unlocked. The Templars are fighting at your side. You have secured the allegiance of the Templars. They'll be a lot more useful if Maevaris manages to come up with that draft she was talking about. How it goes canonically, if May manages to finish this thing, they will fight. If she doesn't manage to finish the draft, they will help train.
Okay.
Either way, very useful. They swear that they will fight by your side in whatever capacity they are physically capable of doing, and they agree to meet you in Tevinter ASAP. Which for them is going to take a while because they can't all take the Alluvion. Probably good to keep that secret mode of transportation on the DL as much as possible.
Yeah.
You take Olivier with you, and he is extremely excited, it looks like, to meet Inquisitor Llewellyn.
Can we, like, announce that at the last minute to Philippe as we're, like, leaving? By the way, we're taking your servant, bye!
By the way, I quit, peace! But yeah, he just sort of flips his old boss the bird as you guys leave. And it looks very therapeutic for him, and you're very happy that he's managed to do this.
Hey, is Olivier cute?
Oh no.
He's kind of cute.
Okay.
He seems like he looks very modest. Like obviously any mage brought up under the thumb of the Chantry is either going to be extremely shy or very modest about their abilities, because they don't want to get fucking narked and sent to a circle. And even though the circles are disbanded, you can't get rid of that paranoia. That's a lifetime of paranoia.
Fair enough.
But yeah, he always wears like big, lumpy, misshapen clothes that cover most of his form, so he doesn't have to stand out too much. But yeah, he's kind of cute.
Okay. I'm just trying to, evaluate my options if this whole linen thing doesn't work out.
Oh no!
But you take a carriage back to Valerio. By the time you get into Valerio, it's almost sundown. You've had quite a momentous couple of days, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm looking through my notes and there's a lot. And
Landon gave you the name of the hotel that he rented a room out in. It's a It's like in the middle of the pack in terms of nice hotels. Like, it's definitely not the cheapest place in Valrio, but it's also definitely not the nicest. Valrio has places that are a lot fancier than this.
And, like, he can afford the nicest, right?
Oh yeah, he totally can.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want to for some reason. So yeah, you get up to his room. He looks up as all of you enter. Like, you haven't had time to, like, fully heal your wounds yet. He says, "Welcome back. What happened?"
There was a desire demon.
There was a vein of exploding lyrium.
He looks a little alarmed. You got exploded on by raw lyrium?
Well, just me and Elian.
He immediately stands up and walks over to you. Sabrina immediately like, peels back one of your eyelids.
No,
and
I'm
says,
fine.
"Look
Stop
down."
it. Ow!
Stop it. Look down.
I look down.
And he immediately starts like looking around your sclera. Like he opens your mouth and looks down your throat, checks your ears, the whole 9 yards.
I'm not a fucking horse. Jesus Christ.
Shut up. He says, "Well, if you are poisoned, it's not enough for any obvious physical signs, not this early." He says, "But I'm going to be keeping an eye on the both of you."
Oh, great.
Leander did dunk them in very cold water immediately.
He says, "Oh, that was a smart move." And Leander just says, "Yes."
Also, we have a new addition. I push Olivier forward.
Olivier is a stuttering mess. You said it like, "Hi, I'm Olivier. You're Inquisitor Landon Llewellyn." He says, "Oh boy, here we go."
I like pat him and I'm like, he does know his name. That is what happens.
You're the Herald of Andraste. It's like, okay, well, that's up for debate. Because, like, the Lord Inquisitor Landon Llewellyn is like, "Well, I'm not technically the Inquisitor anymore. Do you want to sit down? You look like you're about to pass out."
Put your head between your knees.
I'm actually getting a hoot out of this. This is very funny. I think I'm like sitting in the corner, like trying really hard not to like burst into laughter.
And it's just like, he seems like he's used to it, but also he's sick of it. You know? Like,
He's like, oh no.
he got this reaction a lot when he was Inquisitor. And he thought he had escaped it, but apparently it just follows him around wherever he goes.
I like gestured to Olivia and I'm like, we rescued him because he was working for a racist. Well, I mean, he kind of rescued himself, but you know, either way. We think he might be a good fit with the Lucerni.
"I have a book! There's a book! I have a book!" He like shoves the book at Lennon, who catches it like, "Okay, thank you. What is this, like a birthday present?" He says, "No, there's a book, remove the abominations and magic."
He thinks he has a ritual that'll...
It's how to peacefully separate a soul from a spirit.
Yes.
Lennon sort of frowns and he flips open the book. It's like, "Which ritual?" And then, Olivier spends like 20 seconds stammering out the words "page 106." Lennon takes it over to the desk in the corner of the room. He lays it open on it and starts reading through it for a couple minutes in just thoughtful silence.
Yeah, I feel like Elian is just kind of like stolen one of the chairs.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be like fussing over you, Ellie, and like, "I'm sorry, are you okay?"
Sorry, I exploded lyrium on you twice.
I'm okay. I feel better than I did.
Lennon, as you after a couple of minutes of you all talking, he stands up and he pulls. You hadn't noticed it, but he actually has a small pair of reading glasses that he wears now.
Oh.
He tugs them off his face and he says, "So when I was still Inquisitor, I spent a little bit of time in the Frostback Basin, meeting and learning about the Avar and their culture. There was, long story short, there was a dragon. I don't really need to get into the details." And he says, "So the Avar." He sits down at the desk chair. He says, "The Avar train their mages by letting them become possessed by spirits that they worship as Avar gods. It's actually a very interesting way to train mages." He says, "From their youth, when they first start presenting magic, until they're usually in their mid or early 20s, they are possessed by spirits, and then when the spirit considers them fully trained and fully capable of controlling their magic, there is a ritual that they perform to separate the two of them." And he taps the page and he says, "This looks a lot like that ritual." He says, "I think this might actually be authentic. I think this might actually be able to do what it says it can do."
Interesting. Are we getting any reactions from our, like, spirit companions as we're talking about this?
They haven't said anything directly to you. You could theoretically, like, ask them for their input with a thought about it.
I think I'm gonna do that.
Justice, before he can give you a nuanced opinion, he wants to look at the spellbook page with your eyes.
He already knows you're possessed by something, though.
Does he?
Yeah, we had that whole thing at the dining room table, didn't we?
I'm assuming with major stuff like this, unless you specifically hit it, I'm going to assume that most people in the Lucerni know.
Okay, that's fair. I guess everybody else knows, so even if he wasn't there when that happened, it would have gotten around. Okay. I think I'm gonna, like, step forward and be like, do you mind if I take a look?
He says, the fuck do you... I don't know anything about magic.
It's for... Then I gesture.
Yeah, let him look, like, he picks up the minute after you say it. He looks a little wary. He says, okay. And he takes it, like, a half step back.
Really? Really, from you? I grab the book.
And you let Justice take over?
Yeah.
Your eyes briefly go white. Justice takes over your body, and Lennon takes another couple steps back. Just a little bit nervous. Justice is still holding the book. He looks over at Lennon, winks, and then looks back down at the book.
Oh, no.
And he starts flipping through the page, and so he communicates to you without words, because again, you can't really communicate with words. The magic itself seems sound. He is a little bit concerned about where he would be cast after the end of it, because this spell is mostly concerned with the separation, right? As long as you separate the soul from the spirit, it doesn't really put a lot of emphasis on where does the spirit go.
It doesn't care about the spirit, it just cares about the person.
Exactly. He says it is theoretically possible. It could theoretically separate us, but I'm not 100% sure what would happen to me. So I think he actually vocalizes that out loud. He says, well, the magic is good. The magic is sound. It looks like a good spell. I'm not sure what would happen to the spirit in this equation. And Lennon is staring at you because it's not your voice, but it's your mouth.
Yeah.
He's not used to seeing this yet. He's got his back pressed against the window, just kind of leaning away. He says, I'm not 100% sure what it would do with me. And Lennon says, well, it would return you to the Fade. He's like, still not sure what that is, but if you say so. I still wouldn't have a physical form. I wouldn't be able to manipulate things in the physical world without one. So there's that to consider. And then he gives you control of the reins abruptly.
I, like, shake as I come back into it, and I look down at the page, and I'm like, okay. I give it back to Lennon.
Lennon looks a little worried, like he takes the book, but he does it with, like, both arms stretched out as far as possible so he doesn't have to get too close to you.
Like, really fighting, trying to be like, the irony of a mage being scared of me, but okay. I think I asked Justice internally, like, should the other two take a look? Would they maybe have a better idea of what it would mean, or are you the authority on this? He
conveys the idea they know about as much as magic as I do, they just have different specializations.
Okay. I wasn't sure if one of them might be, like, an expert on the...
Yeah, no, he'll convey that Justice, he was an expert on combat magic, Compassion, of course, was a healer, and Faith was an augury, which means she could see into the future.
Interesting. So I think I turn back to everybody and I sort of shrug, and I'm like, I mean, as it stands, this is a beneficial relationship for both of us.
Olivier finally speaks up. He says, wait, you're saying you don't want to do it?
I mean, I turn and look at Elian and Cassandra.
Yeah, what do you guys think?
Good question. I sort of, like, look at Sabre and then, like, at Olivier, and I'm like, it's not that I don't want to. It's just, like he said, what happens to them once we're separated?
Olivier says, well, we could alter the spell a little bit, maybe trap them in, I don't know, some sort of crystal or any sort of magical sphere.
They're people. They shouldn't be trapped anywhere.
Right.
Well, isn't your freedom more important?
I don't really see how I'm any less free than I was prior to this arrangement.
Lennon sort of, like, folds his arms over his chest, like, all this shit you gave me, being afraid of magic, and here you are being so cavalier about being an abomination. Where do you get off?
An abomination? Am I really an abomination, Lane?
You have a spirit that's not your spirit inside your body. That's the textbook definition of an abomination.
You set a tent on fire.
I was having sex at the time. I'm sorry. And Olivier turns.
Yeah, I'm just sort of like, Yariel, how is that relevant?
There is a very big difference between an accidental magical backfire and willingly taking a soul into your soul. That's completely different.
Okay, in all fairness, I didn't know what I was doing at the time.
And it says, man, it's a good thing you're not a mage, because you wouldn't have survived a fucking day.
Probably true. I'm not going to disagree with you there. I'm just saying, we need to talk. Alone.
Hey friends, Tessa here.
If you're desperate to hear the next episode, chances are good that you can by joining our Discord server. We post links to all episodes and pre-release, and you can even chat with us and listen live as we record. Join us by going to bit.ly/cfcdiscord. For more information on the show, character biographies, and links to social media, head to our website, critfail.club or critfailclub.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr. Crit Fail Club does not advertise at all, so if you like what you hear, tell a friend who might also like it, make a post on social media about it, or leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Full episodes are available on our YouTube channel, bit.ly/cfcchannel, or wherever you get your podcasts.